today my plan is actually to broaden my K-pop horizon and get to know a new group. That group is EXO. This is a mess. I have no idea what's happening, but I love it. I have to say, I hands down loved this. The bar is really high right now, but I'm gonna be giving it a fair chance. Oh, it's so good! I've gotten a lot of questions along the lines of, are you an EXO L yet, or are you still an ARMY? What? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or in case you're new here, welcome in. Hi, hello, my name is Landy. I'm a huge BTS fan, and right now you're probably wondering, have I ever heard this introduction somewhere before? Well, if you're a regular in my channel, you probably have, and if you're not a regular, you've probably stumbled upon one of my videos anyways. If you're an EXO L, that is, or if you're just into reactions and, you know, kind of into K-pop. A little over a year ago, I decided to check out the K-pop group EXO for the first time in my life. And throughout this past year, I've been doing my best to learn about their discography as much as I could. This is a journey that I started online for all of you guys to be able to watch and follow, mainly because I always regretted not doing something similar with BTS, who are nowadays a big part of my life, but I never actually recorded my first reactions to them or my first exposure to them. And nowadays, I would give so much to be able to look back onto my first impressions of BTS, because as said, they're a huge part of my life now. They have changed my life in so many ways, and I just remember the first time that I saw them, my first impressions weren't actually all that stellar. I really wasn't into them at all at first. What would I give to see myself react like that nowadays and just laugh about myself? So knowing that, it was really important for me that if I would potentially get into a group again like that, I would really want to be able to re-watch my journey, and especially for the songs that I would end up liking or probably loving later, I would just love to be able to see my first impression of them again, because with BTS there has been so many songs that I like the first time I heard them I was like, yeah, that ain't it, and nowadays I'm just blasting them 24/7. So that was actually the reason why I ended up filming my first reaction to EXO, and I had never actually intended for this to be a series. I had intended to make a series about getting into more K-pop groups in general, but yeah, that didn't actually end up as planned. It ended up being completely different, and I ended up, instead of making this series about K-pop as a whole, making an EXO series. But I'm definitely not mad. This actually ended up being just the right path to take for me at the time, and I've been really enjoying my journey so far, and today I want to talk about that journey with you guys. Alright, so what is today's video about? First off, a very small disclaimer. Today's video might be a bit all over the place because I usually do reactions, which is a very spontaneous type of content, whereas today I'm actually trying to do more of a discussion type of video. Today's video definitely has a little bit of a video essay sprinkled into there because I really needed a little bit of a skeleton to work around, because otherwise I would be forgetting 80% of what it's about. But yeah, what is today's video? Today's video is going to be a bit of a discussion about what I learned in 1 year of investing basically 80 to 90% of my free time that I had into getting to know EXO, and what did I learn? What do I think about them now? What do I think about their songs now that I've heard them more often than just once? And yeah, just discuss all of the impressions that this has left on me and where I'm standing today after 1 year of getting to know EXO. For today, I have planned to revisit all of the songs that I have heard before, as well as answer some of your guys' burning questions that I get in basically every reaction ever to EXO, which is of course the usual, who's your bias, are you an EXO L now, and all of that jazz. And I'm gonna be talking about all of that today. So you might already have a feeling that this is gonna end up being a long video, as becomes apparent if you guys would know that I've been sitting on this intro for 15 minutes already. But yes, today is gonna be a long video, which is gonna include a lot of different topics and perspectives. And if you're not interested into all of that, that is totally cool. You can just use the timestamps down below in the description to navigate to whichever points you're most interested in, and you know, just skip over the topics that you're less interested in or just do not care about at all whatsoever. That being said, don't skip away just yet. I would say the best way to enjoy this video is probably to just kind of listen into each of the topics and think about whether that would interest you or not. I think if you've been following this series already, it's pretty interesting to see where all of this has led me. And if you haven't been following this series and you've got no clue who I am, then I think it's still a pretty interesting perspective what a BTS fan who has actually never really encountered EXO before thinks about them after 1 year of being exposed to them. Has this turned me into an EXO L? Do I hate them, as some people for some reason always think is gonna be the end all be all in this kind of videos? Yeah, what did 1 year of checking out EXO do to me? You're gonna find out today once this intro is finally over, which is gonna be now. Let's go. Alright, we're gonna be starting into this video with the probably most exciting topic of them all, the disclaimer. One of the big reasons of why I wanted to share this series with the world instead of just recording it for myself and kind of keeping the files just in case I ever wanted to look back on them is the honestly very saddening, toxic conflict between fans of different groups. You know, the so-called fan wars. As a person who's both an ARMY and a Blink, I've seen a lot of these conflicts actually from the inside from both affected parties whenever there was fan wars between ARMYs and Blinks. And I can tell you, a lot of these fan wars are actually just a dangerous mix of immaturity, miscommunication, false information, crowd pressure, and just kind of the kick that some people get out of cancel culture and feeling like they're winning an argument. Honestly, a lot of that is peak mob mentality, and it's made up from a very small but a very, very loud minority in these fandoms. And these are the people that are giving K-pop a bad image to the outside world. In fact, 99% of the people that I have met IRL at concerts and at conventions and whatsoever, and that I have conversed online with from both of these fandoms, and actually from all fandoms that I've met in K-pop, have been very mature, understanding, and honestly lovely people. And these people were either supportive or even fans of several groups, or they simply didn't care about other groups. The problem is though, even if it's just 1%, once a fandom gets that big, even 0.5, 0.1% is gonna be enough to give all of us a bad reputation. And that is honestly what is happening a lot in K-pop. Not just in K-pop, but that is kind of where I want to get with this disclaimer. To put the example of Blinks and ARMYs aside, this is an issue that I have seen with basically every fandom that I've ever encountered online, inside K-pop, outside of K-pop, everywhere, books, movies, sports, all of it. And EXO L have not been an exception to this rule. Again, I've met countless amazing people through my comment section that have been open to really mature and interesting discussions and mutual respect and support for each other and each other's favorites. But also here there were some incredibly close-minded individuals in the comment section who arrived here purely on the defense when there was nothing to defend against. So to kind of circle back to why I made this series to begin with, this is a really long disclaimer, I'm very sorry, but I do want to get this out loud and clear. When I got into K-pop, I got into this new and exciting world full of amazing performances, amazing artists, amazing new music, and it all opened up in front of me and I was thrilled to get to know it all. And a lot of that joy was kind of soured when I discovered how many fans would not only just ignore but rather actively hate on anyone that wasn't their favorite. Even though many of these idols they were hating on were actually real-life friends with the idols who were their favorites. I mean, I can only imagine how hurtful it must be if you're good friends with other idols and you really connect with them through similar experiences and similar struggles on your way to make it to the top and to debut and to get yourself out there, and then to see your own fans hate on these people that you've connected with in your name online. That must suck. So when I started the series, I was hoping that I could somehow contribute to normalizing an open discussion between fandoms, because you don't need to be a fan of a group to enjoy and appreciate their music. And I also hoped it could help normalizing being supportive and excited for the achievements of other groups as well, because these other groups work just as hard, like they all work really hard. A really important takeaway for me here is that other groups are not a threat. They're an opportunity to broaden your horizon and to fill your playlist with a lot of new awesome songs. So please, and yes, this is the end of the disclaimer, please go into this video open-minded. I'm always excited to have mature discussions with people in my comment section who are fans of another group or who are fans of the same groups. But some of the hate comments that I sometimes get in my videos or that I read on other K-pop spaces really make it obvious why people to this day think that the K-pop community is exclusively made up out of raging 13-year-olds. When really it's a place that is full of people of all ages, of all genders, of all backgrounds. And according to my own experiences as well as to my own YouTube analytics, really the average isn't 13-year-old, it's probably around 25 to 28. But still, I understand how people could get that image from us. Many more mature and less confrontational people have just kind of taken a step back from all of these comment sections that are full of people who are just angry for the sake of being angry. And that makes it really seem like we're defined by being raging 13-year-olds. And don't be that. Let's not be that. Even if you're 13, you don't have to be raging. Alright, disclaimer, and I'm sorry that this was so long, but really it's just important for me to get that out there because I have people who just read the title of my video and come in here clearly not having seen even just the first 5 seconds going on to a hate tirade, and we don't need that here. Okay, so with all that out of the way, let's get to my K-pop background so you kind of know who's talking here and what kind of experience I brought to the table when I started this journey. I'm gonna try to keep the section very short, so let me know if you want a dedicated video about that, but for now it's just to kind of give you an idea of, you know, my background. So I first got knowingly introduced to K-pop in 2016 by my then boyfriend, who showed me one music video of BTS and one music video of Monsta X each. And let me tell you, I was absolutely overwhelmed, absolutely not into it, and I very quickly forgot about it again. That is until I rediscovered both of the groups again in 2018. Around the time I also got to know a couple of bigger hits from other K-pop acts, namely iKON, Sunmi, Twice, and Big Bang. But I only really dug deeper on BTS, Monsta X, Blackpink, and Stray Kids. In fact, in 2019, I went to one concert of each of those groups that I dug deeper into, except for BTS, where I went to 5 concerts. Also, if you're really bored, feel free to check out the vlogs. I got vlogs up for each of them except for the last BTS concert where I'm still working on it. I know it's been 2 years, but I mean, COVID happened. However, due to my busy schedule, I ended up only really being able to follow BTS and Blackpink. And unfortunately, I had to drop following the other 2 groups that I had been trying to keep following at this time still. Honestly, I haven't heard a new song of either of the 2 groups, Monsta X and Stray Kids, ever since 2019 because I felt so bad about being unable to perform my fan duties and really follow them closely, so I kind of just felt super bad and just dropped it all together. I guess the pressure that the fandom sometimes tries to put onto each other when it comes to streaming and supporting and knowing everything about everyone just really got to me and kind of led me to take a step back from these groups. I still listen to the songs that I already know from these groups very often, but I have just not made the effort to check out new stuff from them just because I felt really bad about the entire thing, which is kind of really sad, to be honest. Do let me know if you guys are interested in Monsta X and Stray Kids reactions. I might try to get back into them and just, you know, not let the fandom tell me how much you need to follow a group to be a fan. Ever since I discovered K-pop, I've been really interested in expanding my knowledge and especially my playlist for more K-pop groups. And I would actually love to at some point have actually listened to every K-pop song out there, but I know that's not realistic. But yeah, last year when I ended up quitting my full-time job in order to start going to college, I had planned on checking out a couple of more K-pop groups and kind of, you know, spice up my playlist, get to know a bit of a better overview of what's out there. I wanted to do a series where I check out big hits of other idol groups that were currently popular at the time. And I started the series with EXO and here we are, still at EXO. I'm actually still planning on expanding the series and actually checking out more groups, but for this last year, I've just been totally stuck with EXO just because I got very intrigued very quickly with EXO. And I think that has something to do with Love Shot and Monster being the first 2 songs that I ended up checking out because they showed 2 very different but very interesting sides of EXO that just really led me to wanting to know more. All right, that's my K-pop background down, so let us talk about EXO. Have I mentioned that I have been reacting to EXO for 1 year now? Have you heard about that before? I'm just kidding. All right, so in case you guys don't know me that well yet, I'm a total hoe when it comes to statistics. I find it super interesting to get stuff in numbers, even though I suck at maths. So now we're gonna be taking a look at the hard facts about what has happened in this year. So I have made a total of 47 EXO reactions on YouTube. That's a lot. That's really solid, actually. Out of these, 20 were EXO songs, and out of these 20 EXO songs, 4 were B-sides and 16 had music videos. I would dare to say they were title tracks, but don't quote me on that, I don't know. Also, 4 EXO subunit songs, 2 for CVX and 2 for SC. 12 original solo songs from EXO members, 9 live performances, 3 dance practices, 6 other, which kind of means variety content, funny, or also covers, just other stuff. And also 1 guide that ended up being 2 videos because it was super long, but yeah, 1 guide. Alright, additionally to that, I also had a couple of exclusive reactions on Patreon, which were 2 EXO M versions of songs that I have heard before, 2 exclusive live performance reactions, and 1 Japanese song, which ups my number of total heard EXO songs to 21 or 25 if you include the subunits. And yes, I will give you guys my up-to-date opinion on all of these songs later. Before I dive into my evolved opinion of all these songs though, and what I think about them nowadays, let me quickly take a little excursion into one of the questions that is most often featured on the not so well-meaning comments that I get on my EXO videos ever since I've known EXO for basically longer than 1 week. Yes, it's been this and that many months since you started to reacting to EXO, why question. Let me check my notes for that one. Why can't you tell apart their voices or faces or silhouettes or pinky fingers? And also, why do you not know their official roles within the group, their offstage names, their ages, and their height, and whether or not they were active during the comeback that you're reacting to for the first time right now? You have seen a single guide about them. I have seen you see that guide, so you still must know all of that information in that guide, and if you don't, you're fake. And lastly, of course, you have only heard 21 EXO songs after reacting to them for a whole year. How is that? I get this so often, and I really cannot comprehend the thought process of that. Of course, every person is different, and maybe you can memorize every voice and face and name and whatever about every person that you've been exposed to once, but I watched the first season of Game of Thrones 3 times in preparation for the 2nd season to start releasing, because there was a lot of names and a lot of people, and all of them kind of looked the same to me, because my brain just doesn't work like that. Like last year during the quarantine, I watched the Netflix series Dark with my dad. Dark was a German Netflix series with German actors, and even after hours of binging that series, I could not tell apart some of the adult men in there. I'm sorry, I just don't have a good memory, and it takes a while for stuff to like really settle in here. I sometimes remember the most stupid and irrelevant facts, but really, I cannot choose what ends up like settling in stone here. Like some stuff just sets and some stuff doesn't. And sometimes 3 or 5 or 10 music videos just won't do, especially if there's a ton of people in a group and all of them change their hair in every single comeback. Like, I'm sorry. But my favorite part about that really is it's been 1 year or however long it has been at the point that this comment was posted on trope. Like, this entire argument is so weird to me because yes, my first EXO reaction has been a year ago now, but that doesn't mean that I have spent every single day ever since then studying their faces and memorizing their backgrounds. At this point, I actually do recognize all of the active members' faces, except for Suho. I'm sorry, I'm working on it. But yeah, for some of the members, that is a rather recent development, and it has taken me a while. But let's be honest here, when my first EXO reaction was released, does not in any way correlate with how much I should know about the people in EXO or the music at this point. When I first got into BTS, I had 5 days free due to a national holiday and a weekend kind of combined, and I didn't have a YouTube channel yet, and I was employed, so I didn't have to study, and when I was off work, I was off work. And at the time, I was super bored, and I was actually actively looking for something that I could dive into, because at the time, I was actually not the fan of anything that wasn't Harry Potter or Avatar. Like, I was actually looking for a musician that I could follow in that sense, because I had never been to a concert and I really wanted to. But at the same time, I couldn't think of a musician where I would want to spend that money and do that kind of scary thing of going to a concert alone, because I was just like, I'm not actually that into anyone. So at the time, I really just watched it for myself, and regrettably, I didn't film any of my first reactions to BTS. I just did it for myself out of boredom and interest. So because I didn't actually film any of it, I don't remember super much about my first impressions. I just remember really not liking some of the songs that I ended up really liking and loving nowadays. And I remember being super confused about everything. But one thing that I distinctly remember is that I watched a 2-hour compilation of every BTS music video that was out to date on the first day of getting into BTS. That is all of the BTS title tracks down in one single day. So what I'm trying to get here at is that I'm pretty sure I watched more BTS content in my first week of watching BTS than I have watched EXO content now. And that actually doesn't have to do anything with it being BTS or EXO. It's just be at the right time, the right place. You guys know the saying, and I apparently don't. I just try to say it in German. Anyways, now I'm in a very demanding college course. I do study Korean and business, and it's really, really a lot. I barely have any free time, and I share 100% of my journey with the world. Like, I have not watched anything EXO without you guys, because I'm just like that. I'm also like that with my live streams. If I share something with the world, I want everyone to be able to follow it all. Like, I don't want to play a game off stream and then everyone being like, what happened in the story while I was gone? So that means that right now, watching a 3-minute video isn't just watching a 3-minute video. It is getting ready to film, it is filming a video, it is editing a video for hours and days for it to be ready. So it's not just these 3 minutes anymore. And in the time in which I can do one EXO reaction, I could probably go through half of their discography that I've been gone through at this point. And I'm actually really happy on how I'm doing it. And I just actually love having the ability to go back to my first ever reaction to EXO, to my first ever reaction of every song and performance that I like from EXO, and go back and see how I reacted to it for the first time. But this just kind of shows the difference that being into a group for 1 year doesn't really mean anything in the grand scheme of things. Like, a person could have watched EXO for the first time a year ago and not watched anything about them anymore for a year, while another person might watch their entire discography on a single day. What I'm trying to say here is that I personally probably watch 1 to 3 EXO videos a week for my reactions, and these videos usually don't even have their names on them. Really, it's like 15 minutes of new content per week and barely any indication of who's who. Meanwhile, another fan who has probably started at the same time has probably watched like 100 fan compilations and 1,000 songs in that same time and knows way more, because everyone has a different way of approaching things and everyone has a different time that they can invest into it. So basically, the fact that I have known EXO for 1 year now doesn't mean that I've been staring at their faces with their names underneath for 1 year now. So yeah, 21 songs might not seem like a lot. 47 videos might not even seem like a lot if you compare it to other reactors who can probably somehow have the time and energy and editing speed to upload daily, or sometimes even several times a day. I don't know how you guys are doing that, but I don't have that kind of time, energy, motivation, or editing speed. Like, I edit hours because I'm a perfectionist when it comes to my videos. I get so mad if there's a typo in there. If I find a typo later, I really have to hold myself back from deleting the video entirely. Really, I think I've been doing pretty solid on getting to know them so far, and even though it's been pretty slow progress, let's be honest, I'm glad that I'll always be able to rewatch my journey from the very beginning. And I'm glad that I get to share it with you guys. And it's important for me to have the videos be the quality that I want them to be, and to only film when I'm in the mood to film, which really should be a sign for me to stop filming this video right now, because I'm totally freaking out. I'm so nervous. I've never done a video like this before. I've really been wanting to dive into more open videos, you know, less of a reaction and more of a I got something to talk about, but damn, it's hard. If you guys see me look at the screen all the time, it's because I'm so nervous about forgetting what I wanted to talk about, so that I look at my bullet points all the time. I'm really sorry. I hope I can get better at that, because I really actually like this type of video, and when I watch videos, I usually watch these type of videos the most. But yeah, it's hard. Let me know what you think. Anyways, let's continue. Alright, now that we've broken down how many songs of EXO I've heard so far, if you still remember, because I talked a lot in between, but yeah, it was 21 songs in total, 12 solo songs. Oh, just go back if you forgot, because I don't entirely know anymore either. But yeah, now that we've talked about that, let us talk about which of these songs have left a lasting enough impression on me on the first time of listening to it that it actually made it onto my playlist. And again, I just want to throw in here that whether or not I put a song on my playlist does not have anything to do with the quality of the song. It simply has to do with whether or not I think that I would want to listen to it in my free time, and I have a very specific taste when it comes to the songs that I want to listen to in my free time. But yeah, I get asked this so often, just because I have mentioned my playlist a couple of times in my videos, that people are like, Landy, did this and that song made it onto your playlist? Are you listening to it regularly now? And yeah, let me throw in here that a song being on my playlist does not mean that I actually listen to it regularly, because it is on shuffle and I skip a lot, but I will be full on transparent and I will let you guys know every single EXO EXO song that is on my playlist nowadays. And as a little additional info, I have never ever deleted anything off that playlist unless I accidentally put it in twice. So if a song isn't on there, that means it has never been on there before either. Oh, I apparently actually did write it down. All right, out of the 21 original EXO songs and 12 solo songs that I've heard so far, plenty have made it onto my Apple Music K-pop playlist, which is my usual go-to for shuffling through when I want to listen to music. And for full transparency, I've got them all listed for you right now, right here, but only the EXO songs though. If you're more interested in what I think about these songs nowadays and not whether or not I put them on my playlist like a year ago, don't worry, I got you. In the next upcoming section, I will actually give you guys my current up-to-date impressions of all of the songs that I've reacted to so far. Voiceover time, because this entire video is way too long to do in one sitting. I tried to keep this super short because it's a lot of songs, but let me know if you'd be interested in a dedicated video where we can go deeper into this topic in particular. For now, here's my spontaneous thoughts of all the songs I've reacted to so far. Love, love, love this song, and I listen to it all the time. Definitely my most listened to EXO song so far, totally up my alley and truly iconic. Probably my second most listened to EXO song, but there's several contenders who might overtake it very soon. It manages to somehow be very tame, but super sexy at the same time. I actually think I never listened to it again after editing this reaction, and it's kind of a shame really. I kind of somehow forgot it existed. This song is actually really epic, but I never really catch myself listening to it. Maybe I'm still a bit scarred from that one unexpected shouting part. I do remember really liking the EXO M music video though, and the song is pretty cool. Kpop. I can hear the intro to this song in my head right now, even though I never listened to it again. How? It's just so chill. I'm just never that chill when I'm listening to music. I'm sorry, I don't remember anything about this. I remember the cap thing in the music video, but I don't remember the song. I know, shame on me. I absolutely loved this song when I first listened to it, but I somehow can't really get into it for casual listening. It's beautiful though. I forgot this existed until I watched a live version at Elixion. I hope I didn't mess this one up. I don't know how to pronounce this. I actually haven't listened to it much since, but it is growing on me, especially the live version. I mean, actually only the live version because I've only listened to the live version ever since. One of my most played EXO songs, but I always skip to the last third. The live version is actually even better, even though it did need a little bit of convincing for me. And here I only skip over the first third. Jokes aside, it's a bit messy, but the end is just amazing. Baekhyun, I'm sorry. You've got an amazing voice, but our music tastes just don't really mesh well. I never listened to this one again, but I got nothing bad to say about it. I absolutely don't listen to this one enough, but it's still easily within my most listened to EXO songs. It's just so moody and I love it. Another one I completely forgot existed. Can't really say anything about it. I don't remember this one. I listen to this one so often, but I always skip to the exact same part. And I did just look it up. It's 1 minute and 19 seconds to 1 minute and 45 seconds. Just that part on loop. So good. You guys already know the ballady songs have it pretty hard with me. I remember appreciating the message and liking it quite alright, but it's nothing I find myself reaching for. This song. Why do I keep forgetting it exists? Every now and then it comes up on my shuffle and I'm like, heck yeah! And then I forget about it again. I reacted to this one once and decided against putting it on my playlist. Then I reacted to it again in my album reaction, and it finally secured that space on my playlist just to be skipped every time it comes up. Just as all of Kai's album though, it's pretty good for listening to while baking or just doing housework and just, you know, very, very casually listening to something, just kind of while working on something. It's just a tad too chill for normal casual listening for me. The Christmas songs are coming. I know what's coming, you know what's coming. I never listened to them again. I don't remember how they sounded. Maybe next Christmas. I thought I'd love this way more when I first listened to it. Like, I really liked it. Yet I don't really listen to it nowadays. Maybe I should check a live performance. I actually listened to this one a couple of times while on walks, but it's been a bit too long and I don't really remember how it sounded. This one I listen to all the time. It's addicting, absolutely up my alley. I just wish it was longer. I'm always kind of disappointed when it's over. I like this one a lot. I wouldn't say it's one of my all-time favorites, but it's really solid and catchy, and I listen to it pretty frequently. Did I already say I'm sorry, Baekhyun? I remember liking this one more than Candy upon first impression, but I never listened to it again. I'm just gonna squash all of these songs together for now because the same thing applies to all of them, no matter if they went onto my playlist or not. I listen to this album every now and then while baking, but I've skipped all of the songs every time they came up on shuffle while actively listening to music. It's just not the mood that I'm usually searching for. I actually enjoyed this one quite a lot, but I haven't listened to it again since adding it to my playlist. Loved the music video, but for some reason I never really reached for this song itself again. It's still rather fresh though, so maybe it'll grow on me once I see a live performance. I really wanted to like this. I even reacted to it twice during the reaction video back then, but it's just not my style. It's just too laid back and chill for me. I didn't actually notice this wasn't on my playlist until I prepared for this video. Were there any live stages for this one that I could watch? I don't think so. Did they promote? I didn't hear about it. I remember not really getting into the song during the reaction, and I can't remember what it sounded like at all. This is such a fun song and it's probably my favorite EXO music video ever. Every time I read the title though, I somehow think of the David Guetta song, so I have to listen to the actual Hey Mama again to remember what the melody actually sounds like. I haven't listened to it all that much in my free time yet, but I think it will be great for when I have places to walk to again and listen to while walking. I haven't listened to this one again, but I really liked it when I reacted to it a couple of weeks ago. It's the maximum amount of chill that I can stand in my casual music. That "Can I be your boyfriend" line though, it sells the entire song for me. It's so catchy. I feel kind of really bad for this song because I loved it so much while reacting to it, but it was just unlucky that I reacted to it on the very same day as I reacted to Electric Kiss. I haven't listened to it again ever since, but it's still super fresh, like 1 or 2 weeks ago. This is my most recent EXO discovery, so I shouldn't make all too high claims yet, but I love it though. And it's really working its way up my favorite list right now. Guys, I've been recording this video for 1.5 hours now. I'm dying. I feel like you can actually see my makeup melt off my face. It's so hot and I'm so nervous. All right, now that we've gotten this far, let's get to the burning questions, which are burning almost as hot as my face right now. So, what are these burning questions? Well, these burning questions are the questions that I get asked in literally every single EXO reaction ever, which is, who is your bias? Are you in EXO L yet? Will you marry me? Actually, no one has asked that so far. I'm waiting. First up, let's talk about the bias question. I've had people asking me this under my very first 2 or 3 reactions, and I was like, I watched 2 music videos. There weren't any names. I literally don't know who these people are. 1 year and 47 EXO reactions later, plus those on Patreon. I forgot to count those. Well, 1 year and around 50 reactions later, I've definitely come a long way on recognizing the members in EXO. I actually recognize all of the active members except Suho. I'm so sorry, pretty face. Power vocal, I'll get to you at some point. I'm very sorry. I'm doing my best here. But yeah, nowadays I can typically pretty easily recognize all of the active members except for Suho. And that does include Lay, which I'm pretty proud on because he's not in there very often or very long nowadays. And also Tao, which I'm like the most proud on because I've only knowingly, as in I knew who he was at the time, saw him one time, which was when I watched the guide where there was like a picture and it was like, hey, that's Tao. And that's literally the only time where I saw him and I knew it was him, but for some reason he left a very lasting impression because something about him reminded me of Game of Thrones Joffrey, and at the time I was really into Game of Thrones and I'm still very into Game of Thrones, so somehow I can often even recognize him, which is like, I'm very proud on that one. I've definitely come to appreciate all of the members in their own way, even Suho, who I often cannot recognize due to his absolutely flawless face, because he still delivers great vocals, and people often in the comments tell me that a part that I really liked was his part. So apparently even he left left a lasting impression even though I can't see it with my eyes. During the songs, I often tend to like Seon's and Chanyeol's parts the most because they're both rap and I really like rap. But from what I have seen, all of them have something about themselves and about their craft that I really appreciate. For example, just like with Suho, with Dio, and with Chen, I also very often get impressed by their vocals. With Baekhyun and Kai, it's very often their stage presence that just really takes me by surprise. Also, by the way, out of all of the vocals, I think with Baekhyun, I'm the closest to actually recognizing him by his voice. He's got a very distinct voice, and I feel like I'm getting there. I'm not quite there, but oftentimes I'm like, that's gotta be Baekhyun, and then like it shows Baekhyun singing it, I'm like, yes. So I'm getting there. Also, Kai, Seon, and Xiumin have really caught my eye lately with their dancing, and for Xiumin also, I feel like he's a total ace. Ever since I discovered EXO CBX, I've been really impressed with him on like everything. He does rap, he does sing, he does dance, he does it all. As for Suho and Lay, I do have to confess that I tend to sometimes kind of just go over them. One, because I tend to kind of not realize whether or not it's Suho for sure, and I don't want to embarrass myself, so I just say nothing. And with Lay, I often just don't expect him to be there, and when he's there, I'm just like, oh look, there's Lay, and that's kind of all I say. With Lay, there's this weird situation where he's sometimes there and sometimes not. Actually, there's this weird situation with all of them, with military and everything. Whenever there's a new EXO video, I'm not really sure who I can possibly recognize. Like sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm really sure I've seen a member and I've recognized a member, and then I'm like, but wasn't he at the military at the time maybe? So I'm not really sure whether or not I can possibly recognize that person, or if I'm just imagining things. Anyways, for Suho, I'm gonna say that I've apparently liked a lot of the lines that he's delivered, and he's delivered solo vocals, and I just didn't know it was him. And for Lay, I've checked out his solo, and I gotta say it was lit. Haha. However, that was a lot of talk for the question of who's my bias, and that is because I wouldn't say that I could name anyone as my bias yet. Boo, lame answer, I know. The big problem here is that I mainly know them as performers nowadays, and I barely know their backgrounds yet, and their personalities, and their hobbies, or anything else that I could relate to past of their professional talents. And that's been a conscious decision that I made because I wanted to get to know the art before the artist, because I wanted to be able to have that outsider's perspective on their music and on their music videos, which I just won't have anymore once I'm a full-fledged fan. Like, I can always go back to when I'm a full-fledged fan and rewatch it as a fan, but I will never again have that outsider's perspective where I'm completely not influenced by liking anyone in particular super much, or just being like, ah! Like, I am getting a little bit more fangirly the more we get into this, but I always feel like once you get to know members more personally and you know their struggles, you just always appreciate everything they do more automatically. And of course I want to appreciate them, but also I feel like now I'm in a kind of unique position where I'm able to like have my perspective and record my perspective for myself to listen to again later when I'm a full-fledged fan, and just see what I thought about this rather uninfluenced. And I do want to keep that. So I did make the conscious decision of not watching guides yet, but that does put me into this position of not really knowing them individually yet, like as people, not just as idols, but as who they are, or who we think that they are anyways. But even if that wasn't the case, generally the bias question has always been a really hot one for me. For example, I got into Blackpink in 2018 and I have been following them very closely since. They're the group that I follow the closest except for BTS. I watch a lot of fan content for them, and I definitely do identify as a Blink. That being said, it actually took me until their How You Like That comeback in 2020 to develop a very slight bias towards Jisoo at the time. But even then, I would say I actually like all of them equally, and I just kind of have developed a little bit of an enchantment with Jisoo's visuals because she looked like a goddess in that era, and she still does though. But like How You Like That just really opened my eyes for that. But generally, I find it very hard to name a bias in Blackpink. I've been a very big fan of them for years now, and still I feel like whatever name I would name, I would not agree with anymore in 2 minutes. And not because I'm like, oh, actually I like another person more than that, but rather because I would be like, but actually I like that person just as much. I just like all four of them in their personalities, in their talent, in their style, in their vibe, and I feel like I can't really say I like one more than the other. And I also feel like that kind of is enhanced by the fact that it's only 4 members. So probably if it was more members, I would have more of a bias towards like a group of them at least. But at this point, I can't. I can't. So if that is my answer for a group that I've actually followed for years and that I've attended a concert for, I hope that kind of makes it a bit more clear about why I am at the point that where I am. Like, I actually had a rather easy time with BTS. I settled on Suga really quickly after around a month of knowing them. But again, I watched like all of their music videos in a single day. Like after a month, I watched hours every day of BTS content because I had a bunch of time. Like at the time I was still working and I commuted at least 4 hours daily. And if something went bad, even longer. So I had a bunch of time to watch a bunch of BTS content. So after around a month, I did settle on Suga and later actually had Jungkook sneaking up on me, who I have actually before barely even noticed. But after around 3 months, it kind of turned into a Jungkook situation. Nowadays, I always say that Jungkook is my ult, but I could never say that Suga isn't my ult because I feel like that would just be lying. And no, he isn't my bias wrecker either. I think J-Hope would be my bias wrecker. I suppose both Suga and Jungkook are kind of my biases, but in different senses and for different reasons, and you can't quite compare them. But Jungkook kind of gets like that little bit of an extra thing, probably because he's the magnet, I don't know. But if you were to ask me, I would either always say both of them, or if it's someone who doesn't really know K-pop that well, I just say Jungkook because everyone knows Jungkook and is like, oh, okay, BTS. But in the end, yeah, it's not really comparable. It's kind of both, really. Anyways, about biases in K-pop as a whole, I've never really actively tried to like pick them. I don't know if other people like, do you guys pick your bias? For me, it's always been like a feeling. Like it's just that moment where I'm like, yep, that's it. That's the person. Like there's just suddenly that little bit of extra excitement for that member. And like for BTS, I love all of them so much. Like if I'd ever meet any of them, I would probably die out of excitement. But still, like there is that one member where you're like extra excited for everything that includes them, just because you're kind of relating to them on a special level. And the funny thing is I actually dare to say that I have a bias in Twice, even though I barely know their title songs, like probably half of them. And I don't know them off stage whatsoever, but I just had that moment with Momo where I was like, yes, her. I don't know, it just happened. However, I didn't have one of these moments with one of the EXO members yet. I feel like a bias is a very personal thing, and I just feel like you gotta have that feeling of yes. Like I wouldn't just name someone to name someone. That being said, I think my situation with Blackpink shows that you can absolutely enjoy a group and love them all without having one bias to kind of solidify it in some way. Like I definitely am a Blink, no matter if I have a bias or not. That being said, I currently think I'm leaning a little bit towards Chanyeol and Seon just because they both rap, which is like a big plus for me. Chanyeol has an amazingly deep voice. Seon is an entire snack, as I've mentioned like very often. But if we're gonna give visual cookies, we'll have to distribute a lot more cookies in EXO, so what can I say? I don't have a bias, I'm sorry. All right, so that is the bias question down, more or less. Probably a disappointing answer, but I'm an honest person. I'm just gonna give you guys the honest answer from my heart. I'm sorry if that was lame. But yeah, I just don't have any great tea to spill here yet. Artistically, they've impressed me, but a bias is something where I just need a very certain combination of like relatability, artistry, personality, and that spark that, yeah, this person I vibe with extra much. Alright, so with that down, that leaves that one super burning, most burning of all question, which is, are you an EXO L yet? I legit got that question after my very first reaction to EXO. And I understand it. I feel like some people just watch a K-pop music video and they're like, alright, that was fire, we stan. But at the same time, after kind of having burnt myself with calling myself an official member of the fandom too early with some other groups, as mentioned earlier, that's a story for another day to really get into that. But it did end up making me feel kind of left out in the fandom and kind of like a hypocrite. Anyways, I kind of really don't want to get into it too much now because I haven't really prepared and I don't want to like step on anyone's feet here. So let me just continue. I'd say I'm still a casual fan, or at least supporter for a lot of other groups, and I listen to their music regularly. I get happy when I hear about their achievements. I probably catch a performance here or there and read an article if they pop up on my Reddit and I happen to see it, but just not to the extent where I actually know the members directly or watch fan-made content or generally follow their releases or news when they happen or when I hear about them. And I'd say with EXO, I've kind of exceeded that level because when I hear about EXO somewhere, I actually do get excited and I actually do get low-key proud. So I kind of do have that feeling of kind of, you know, being related in some way of like, hey, that's something for me to be proud of. And if they were to give a concert anywhere in Europe, I would totally try to get tickets. But at the same time, I wouldn't feel comfortable yet labeling myself as an actual EXO L. I feel like that decision decision is for everyone to make for themselves, and it probably is different for everyone, but for me, myself, I just, in the end, had a really different feeling about me being a part of the BTS and Blackpink fandom and the other fandoms that I thought of myself as a part of the fandom before. Like with BTS and with Blackpink, there's a really different feeling on the level, like when I read the term ARMY or Blink somewhere, I feel included in that term. When they address their fans, I feel like they're addressing me because I'm a part of their fans. Like if you read the term EXO L, you probably feel like, oh, that's me, I'm EXO L. And like for me, I'm not quite there yet. I'm definitely a casual supporter, I'm definitely a fan, like a fan in the Western sense, you know? I think I'm a fan, but I wouldn't call myself an EXO L yet in like the fandom collective term, if you know what I mean. Like I feel like that's just one step further where I'm just not quite at yet. And I feel like if I would make that step, there's just some things that I would still want to tick off. For myself, I would want to either actually get to know the members a bit better and maybe even have a bias, or at least kind of feel like I kind of know who they are as people, even though of course that is to a certain level always fabricated and you will never actually know. But I do still I'm still kind of missing a connection there, or at least know all their title tracks and really be like, I kind of know what EXO is about. And I wouldn't claim I need to hear all of their songs because I have not heard every BTS song ever. Like I haven't. There's hundreds of them. And I have hundreds of favorite songs. So yeah, I'm happy with those. I sometimes stumble upon new BTS songs. I'm like, hey, cool, a new song. I haven't heard that yet. But I don't feel like you need to have heard every song. I don't think there's anything that you need, but I just don't quite feel it yet, if you know what I mean. Also adding on to that real quick, because it's just that crazy to me. So I've gotten a couple of questions, and with a couple, I mean like I've gotten a lot of questions along the lines of, are you an EXO L yet, or are you still an ARMY? And it's the weirdest thing to me. That kind of carries the same energy like that one person that I knew in elementary school. Like a really nice girl, and she wanted to be friends with me, but she did tell me that I had to stop being friends with other people because you can only be friends with one people and you kind of automatically dislike everyone else just to be able to like gossip about each other and to have that one person that you can 100% trust. And I know, I mean, best friends exist, but what? I don't know if that hasn't been clear enough by me often throwing in that I'm also a Blink, and also that I like supporting other K-pop groups, and that I used to identify as a stay in the Mon baby, and that I went to their concerts and all that jazz. BTS is absolutely my favorite group, but that doesn't mean I don't support other groups. And in the same way, becoming an EXO L wouldn't change anything about me liking BTS. Why would it? Like honestly, I could make an entire video just about this issue, but long story short, people are absolutely able to enjoy music of several groups at once, and even better, people are absolutely able to support several groups at once. And I know some people are gonna come up with the question, oh, but what if BTS and EXO are facing off against each other in an award show? Like, what are you gonna do? Who are you gonna vote for? And I mean, awesome. That just means I get double the chance of being excited with the winnings, right? Like, of course, you'll always have a personal opinion and a personal preference when there's any kind of voting that kind of contradicts me not having a bias in Blackpink, but whatever, for the sake of what I'm getting across here, like you're always gonna have some kind of preference, and that doesn't have to be your ult by default. For example, when there was Fancy against Boy With Love for Song of the Year, I don't want to say I wanted Twice to win, but I absolutely wouldn't have minded Twice to win, because for me, I liked Fancy more than Boy With Love. And basically, you're absolutely able to support several groups at once, you're absolutely able to be happy for several groups at once, and just because someone is your favorite, that doesn't mean they are the end-all be-all for every single question in life. They're not. You still have personal opinions and preferences, and you can be happy for other groups as well. Like even if, for example, Twice would have ended up having the Song of the Year of Fancy, and let's say I didn't like Fancy as much, that doesn't mean I have to be sad. I can still be happy for them even if it wasn't my preference. Like generally the awesome thing about supporting several groups is that you get to be happy and get to celebrate the achievements of several groups, and you get to fill up your playlist with double the fun. Okay, this was a long-ass video. I've been recording for 2 hours, almost on the dot, a couple more seconds, and I've been running for 2 hours. This was absolutely terrible to film, honestly. I was just so nervous. I would absolutely love to make more content of this type, but at the same time, I was very nervous about how you guys would like that kind of content. You know I like talking, and you know I like discussing, but I also know that in discussions, there's always the person who's like, shut up, I don't want to hear you. I'm just here for EXO, and really you're just a byproduct for some reason, which is really weird for me because the music video is online without me. You can find it on YouTube. But anyways, I'm really into like discussion type videos, so I thought that this would be a really cool reason to try out this kind of format. And I really wanted to share all of my thoughts after 1 year of reacting to EXO with you guys, but at the same time I thought like slapping all of that in the end of a reaction, it would be too much and it would just kind of get away from the subject at hand too much. So I did want to make a dedicated video. I hope you guys had fun with just hearing me ramble about stuff for a while, and I would definitely love to know some of your opinions and thoughts down below in the comments. Like, this really is meant as a kind of discussion. I stated my points and I would be happy to hear your points, and also if you think I said some absolute trash at some points, let me know, and I'm really open to discuss, even though this was mainly my opinion, so it's gonna be hard to like say, oh, you're factually wrong. But still, I would find it very fun if you guys would like, you know, leave me some of your experiences after 1 year of being a fan, after 1 month of being a fan. How did you guys think about some of the stuff that I said today? Did you have similar experiences? Did you have other experiences? Who's your bias? Why do you not have a bias? Like, just give me your thoughts. I would be very happy to hear them. I'm sorry, I'm an absolute nervous wreck today. I don't know why this affected me so much. I've been so excited to make this video for months. I think just now that it's here, I can in no way actually make the worthy video that I've made up in my mind. At least I got through my text now. At least I've ticked up all of my bullet points, and hopefully this is gonna end up being an interesting journey for some of you guys. Just as kind of like an ending thing, and I actually did not write bullet points for the ending because I was just like, okay, that's everything that I wanted to say down. So as a little bit of an ending, I just quickly wanted to say that I've had a ton of fun discovering EXO so far. I definitely want to discover more K-pop groups as well, but that doesn't mean that I'm done with EXO in any way, shape, or form. I feel like I've really found another group with like some awesome songs, and I'm really excited to get to know more. And actually, for me, when I read that I've only heard 21 EXO songs so far, I was shocked. I really thought it was more, but that's just because, I mean, I've also heard 12 solo songs, which does kind of weight it out a bit. But I'm very excited to hear more from them. I can't wait to get into all the B-sides that you guys have been recommending. And yeah, in the end, I just wanted to thank you guys for all of your thoughts and opinions that you guys just throw in here sometimes. I know that most of my comment section is usually just recommendations, and I'm thankful for those as well, but I'm most happy, of course, always when I actually get to, you know, converse, hear some opinions, and I don't know, kind of get to know you guys a bit. God, I should have planned an outro, but yeah, anyways, I'm very happy that I got to know you guys through this journey so far, and I hope you guys are going to continue this journey with me, and I hope you had fun today, and let me know if you guys would be up for more like this, and if you're not, there will probably be more anyways if I ever actually get off this nervousness from me. Anyways, I'm so done for today. Let's head off. Bye!